Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Progressive Discussions. It happens to be a Saturday, November 26th, 2011. It is a lovely, unseasonably mild day here, approaching the end of November. But, you know, the weather here in the Northeast is very erratic and is subject to rapid change. That's why your weather people, it's probably the best job you can ever have, because you look pretty, you dress up nice, you crack jokes on TV, you try to be amusing, you flirt with your coworker a little bit here and there on the news, and you don't really know what the weather will be. You get it from the National Weather Bureau, just like my NOAA weather radio alert from Radio Shack. Same information. They just have the personality, or poisonality. Anyway, I am your host, James P. Madonna of Mega Life 21, the hardest hitting internet talk radio station on the planet. And it happens to be, in my opinion, Black Saturday. Why? Because yesterday, Black Friday, was more insane than it ever was, and it's always been insane. I had to take someone to work very early in the morning, around 5 a.m. on Black Friday. And lo and behold, all the retail stores were open. Actually, Kmart, shame on you, Kmart, was open Thanksgiving Day. The poor people that had to work on Thanksgiving Day. Talk about corporate American greed in the retail industry. Okay, then, lo and behold, at 5 a.m., the parking lots were full at the malls. People were out there acting like they had some kind of a obsession, like they were possessed, fighting for parking spaces. Blowing the horn left and right, you know, like they couldn't wait to get in the store and spend all their money because of the Black Friday sales. Now, at 5 a.m., Best Buy, you're familiar with Best Buy. Best Buy had a line almost wrapping around the building at 5 a.m. on Friday. Now, these people, psychologically, these Americans probably think that if they're there at the crack of dawn or before the crack of dawn, they're going to get their product cheaper, or they're so neurotic, maybe they're afraid that their product will be sold out, what they want to buy will be sold out and out of stock. And meanwhile, if that's the case, they can easily go online and order the product from the main office if it's out of stock. But no, they were on the news. There was an incident where the woman pepper-maced other shoppers in the face so she can grab her items, so nobody else would grab it first. Somebody got stabbed. Somebody got shot. Way back when, poor man, I think he was a security greeter. He was a Walmart greeter. I think it might have been Long Island. I could be mistaken. He was trampled. He was trampled to death by frantic, insane Christmas shoppers, like a stampede, like running with the bulls over in Spain. Trampled. So I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at this insanity, and it reminds me of how Americans are so gullible. When I call them lemmings, I'm not kidding. This is probably the same brainwash mentality that caused middle-class Americans and low-income people to vote in a right-wing conservative Republican Congress last November, voting against their best wishes, believing the Tea Party lies, one lie after the other, propaganda, voting against their best interests because they're not in a high income tax bracket, so why should they worry about taxes, but they voted Republican. This is the same brainwashing that occurs every year after Thanksgiving with the Christmas holiday. Jesus was not born in December. The retail industry in America, in cahoots with the government, of course, overly commercialized Christmas as a means of causing you to part with all of your money and money you don't have, maxing out your credit cards. They don't care about Jesus' birthday at all. It's all about the bottom line, okay, moolah, the bottom line. And they bombard you with constant, annoying, nauseating Christmas songs wherever you go. And you get bombarded with Christmas movies on TV to try to make you feel guilty if you don't spend all your money. You know, like different variations of Ebenezer Scrooge, A Christmas Carol, different modern. Hold on, there's a plane flying overhead, interrupting my show. If I had a, what is that? The Soviet shoulder-held rocket launcher. Unbelievable. If it isn't asshole people, it's planes. Anyway, brainwashing America, bombarding it into your head like a Joseph Goebbels technique, which is what conservatives use. Repeating a lie often enough causes people to believe it eventually. People are brainwashed into believing they have to spend all their money to get approval and make all their friends and relatives happy. I heard a child taking a tantrum in traffic in the car. Mommy, I want this, I want. American kids. There you go. Modern day American parenting at its best. Kids taking a tantrum, jumping up and down in the back seat, demanding she buy him what he wanted. Multiply that hundreds of thousands of times over. Anyway, the violence, the behavior is very unlike what Christmas is supposed to be about if Jesus was born in December. Now, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. It's worse than that old Crazy Eddie commercial. Our prices are insane. Speaking of the insanity, I don't know if it was a furniture store or what, but they had to take down their billboard. The billboard said, "We offer Christmas quality at Hanukkah prices." They were forced to take it down. I told my co-host Wednesday about that, and they got in trouble for it. They got heat.
Politically incorrect.
Huh?
Politically incorrect.
Politically incorrect.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am here at the Newsletter Censored Research Center in northeastern New Jersey. I am here with my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. I forgot to ask you, how are you today, sir?
Okay. Still breathing.
Still breathing.
Still breathing.
But anyway, this is where we're at. So what I forgot to do one important thing to stop incoming calls from coming into this office and screwing our video. So while I'm taking care of that situation, no, not yet, because this is a very important topic, how Americans are behaving. Americans are idiots compared to the rest of the world. Idiots. All you buddies,
How do you know the rest of the world ain't doing that?
All your buddies online that like the duck song and the three burping or farting frogs and all those idiots you know that like that. This is the future of America, and it's going right to hell in a handbasket.
In the end time, we shall be ruled by children.
That makes sense.
Well,
and
that's what you got.
And the whole world will be deceived. That's Revelation.
They're already deceived, not will be.
Well, they're deceived. They're deceived into parting with all their money, maxing out their credit cards, using violence to try to frantically grab their Christmas, do their Christmas shopping, pepper mace, guns, knives, whatever. People getting mugged in mall parking lots. I mean, the traffic jams. Oh, by the way, if you go online and shop eBay, and if you go to Google Shopping, you can most likely do almost all of your Christmas shopping and save a bundle of money, perhaps even more savings than you would in a store,
and have it all delivered.
And in a lot of cases, the shipping is free.
Oh,
I don't know why sometimes they call shipping and handling. Handling, isn't it the same? In order to ship,
handling.
In order to ship, you have to handle, right? So,
but handling is like a handling charge. It's an extra charge.
Oh,
because some of them are giving free shipping, but they'll charge you a handling charge.
Now, do department store Santa Clauses charge
for handling?
For handling, especially when they get a
young lady,
an older, attractive teenage girl to sit on their lap, and they go, "Hey, honey, come and sit on Santa's lap. I got a nice candy cane for you."
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a candy cane. Now, isn't there a handling charge with that?
I think they would get charged if they were doing.
You mean they would? Look at me. Would get charged? Would?
Yes, Santa would get charged.
The perverted.
If he was doing some handling.
Excuse me. Handling, right. The perverted department store Santa. I saw a movie late last night. I couldn't sleep. Billy Bob Thornton. It was called The Bad Santa, where he's got his friend is a little person.
An elf?
An elf. Well, literally a little person.
Yeah.
And he's always yelling at him. And Billy Bob Thornton is cursing out the kid, saying, "What the fuck do you want for Christmas? Come on, I haven't got all day. What do you want? What do you want?" And the guy's always drunk. He's an alcoholic. And he meets this girl, the bartender. She said, "I have a fetish about Santa Claus because I was brought up Jewish and I wasn't allowed to celebrate Christmas in any way." And she had a Santa fetish. So of course, it is Billy Bob Thornton. He's smoking like a fiend, drinking constantly, and he's always having these sex scenes. Meanwhile, he's emaciated. He's ugly as hell. I think Angelina Jolie was married to him.
Yeah.
Anyway, right away they're having sex in the car because she had a Santa fetish for not being allowed to participate in anything related to Christmas. Now, do you see how it's funny how some fetishes start? But anyway, it was a cute movie. I never seen it before. Obviously, it was an old movie.
Sounds like it didn't do too well at the box office.
J-Lo did a movie with him where she was also having sex scenes with this guy. I get, J-Lo she's probably a high mileage woman. And now she's even more, now she's getting risque again since she's in her 40s. To get attention, egomaniacal people in the limelight and the spotlight. When they get older and they're not in the spotlight anymore, the women have to do very risque things, or the guys, when they get older, have to be buffoons. Like Alec Baldwin, he's doing all stupid, silly, goofy comedy stuff and sitcoms and commercials. Before, he used to do very serious movies. Now he's older. Well, anyway, let me take care of that situation and begin with the article. But now, do you see, before you begin, do you see a similarity in some way between the brainwashing of America to put themselves in debt for a commercialized pagan Christmas, and the same Americans that believe in Tea Party lies that voted Republican against their best wishes? Brainwashing.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't separate it into Tea Party people.
Now, I'm talking about propaganda, brainwashing America.
The Tea Party people, you got to understand what they want. They want smaller governments, and they want the corruption out of government.
Which makes sense.
Exactly, that's my point. It does make sense.
But smaller government
is
not the answer.
But they don't get that. You see, they don't understand the actual job. That's what's happening right now.
But what about
those people sent these new Congress people to Congress,
right?
And those Congress people do not understand the function of government and how it works. And that's what their problem.
But what about when the Tea Party falsely blames progressives and Democrats for the mess we're in?
Well,
those are lies.
Yeah, well, that's their propaganda that they've lived with.
I mean, that's propaganda. That's a lie, just like the propaganda to make people spend all their money and go into debt and then some for a pagan holiday that is totally and deliberately commercialized. I mean, it's still lies, propaganda that's affecting the masses. The masses.
Well, at least it ain't the propaganda that was around during the Crusades and etc., which actually killed 50 million people.
Yeah, you see, my conservative uncle told me that one time. Just be his defense. One of his defenses: just be thankful you live in a country where you can say what you want, because at the time, you know, we had the Cold War and Soviet Union. He says that if you were in Russia, they would have sent you to Siberia. So, but that doesn't justify what the right wing does and says. Hey, who was that? Was it a congressman? I saved the article. I think it was an internet article about a congressman or a senator. I should have wrote his name down. He wants to pass a law in Washington.
It's Ted Deutsch.
That will remove
from Florida.
That will remove corporate money
from our politics.
From our politics,
right.
Which I think is a freaking outstanding.
It's overdue. But guess what?
Long overdue.
Guess what?
What?
It won't go anywhere.
They'll vote it down.
Exactly.
Because
they won't bring it up for a vote.
Because they're corrupt whores. They're getting their palms greased.
They won't bring it up for a vote.
No. Oh, the saddest friggin' thing, I saw one of Gary Noll's fairly recent Gary Noll productions about the homeless veterans. It was like a part 2 or whatever. Do you know that the homeless poor veterans that have served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and even Vietnam vets, do you know that they cannot get food stamps because they do not have an address? Naturally, they don't have an address. They live in a tent. Do you think they get junk mail delivered in the tent in the woods? Exactly. Of course they don't have an address. They can't afford to have an address. But
they don't have a house.
But the system is penalizing them for not to give them food stamps and social services because they don't have an address. Well, duh. That's why they're applying for the food stamps.
It's all deliberate. It's all deliberate.
This is what
like the fudging of the CPI since the 90s.
This is what they think. My message is to you conservatives that are not, you Republicans that are not really in a high income tax bracket. See how your party operates? They blame the Democrats. Of course, they're blaming Obama for all of this, but no. The part about not helping poor people is from the Republicans, from the right wing, not from progressives, not from, Obama's not causing this. And it's just an excuse not to have any social programs. And you see what happens? You get your legs blown off in Afghanistan or Iraq. They wave the flag, people that went over there, they're doing the whole patriotic routine. You put your life on the line, get half your head blown off, get your legs blown off, or get killed. And guess what?
They want you to be killed.
Because then they don't have to pay you.
That's correct. That's correct.
You come back to an America with no jobs. You come back a veteran, no jobs. You end up living in a tent, and that's the thanks you get from your government. Interesting. Read the first article. Let me take care of this problem.
Oh, well, remember one thing. It's not our government. Number one.
In other words, it's not we the people anymore.
That's good. Anymore. It hardly ever was.
So that was flag-waving, phony baloney, right-wing propaganda about... No, not right-wing. I'm sorry. They never really
lived up
to the initial Constitution.
Yeah.
All right.
A tree cut down at an Escondido, California church is causing a stir among believers after some people reporting seeing the shape of a cross or angel inside the trunk.
I'm back, of course. Hey, this reminds me of the kudzu.
The kudzu, yes.
And was it North Carolina? Somewhere, the case of the holy kudzu, the kudzu that was shaped like Christ. I mean, like a crucifixion.
Yep.
Wow, here we go again. Let me guess. Right-wing fundamentalist, holy roller, zealot, religious nuts are right there praying to the subject.
Landscapers made the discovery this week while removing pine trees on the property of the First Congregational Church of Escondido.
Wow.
One of the workers,
The first... Oh.
Salvador Maya, was first to see the image, apparently formed in the part by tree sap,
Really?
and alerted his boss. Salvador yelled at me, "Look at this, it's a cross! Something sacred!"
The Catholics like to do this usually. If they think they see an image of the Virgin Mary in a tree stump, or at one time it was in an attic window, they all come by the thousands with candles praying to it.
Said Jim Rance,
Relics.
owner of Star Landscaping.
Relic worship.
So I looked at it and thought, holy moly, we've got something here. It's just amazing. And to be on church property, it's definitely something divine.
Divine?
Rance reported the finding to the church pastor. News coverage and Twitter postings quickly followed by midweek. Television stations and newspapers from San Diego and Tijuana, Mexico, and radio stations from Texas and North Carolina had checked in. That the discovery was made during Thanksgiving week only added to the excitement.
The excitement of the pavo, the turkey.
It's been phenomenal, Debbie Cummings, the church's office manager, said. To people of faith, it's very comforting to see something. Of course, some people say they see nothing. But there are
nothing is what it is.
Always skeptics. People have called the church asking to buy the stump.
To have it blessed? Yeah, but if you stare at a cloud up in the sky, can't you also imagine,
Or Rorschach this.
let your imagination run wild and see things? What about the man in the moon? When we were kids, we would look up on a clear night when we used to have real clear nights way back
The man
when.
in the moon looks a little like SpongeBob.
Or Jackie Gleason, remember the Honeymooners when the moon turned into Ralph Cramden's face?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Pastor Phil Core said he plans to discuss the woodcut,
Discuss it?
which is safely stored in the church sanctuary,
Oh, wow.
during his Sunday sermon titled The Joy of Surprise.
I bet he's going to use this object to extract more donations out of his parishioners. You're going to market this. Gotta love it, huh? Religion and capitalism.
He also will display the log and talk about what the church plans to do with it.
It's a log, all right. The kind that falls into your toilet bowl.
People of faith have eyes to see this, but skeptics do not.
I do not. So I'm a skeptic, right?
The rest of the wood from the downed trees is being chopped into firewood. Some pieces may also be given to attendees at the Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous meetings held at the church.
Why don't they gift the chunks of wood from the same tree with the donation, with an exchange of a donation? Why don't they do a big infomercial, late night TV, or early Sunday morning, and try to scam people? You know, that might happen.
This church has a lot of outreach to the community, and now it has more. Here's a picture of the log that you may share with the viewers, sir.
I know. The last time you read an article about a Tyrannosaurus.
Yes, I forgot.
Tyrannosaurus Rex. Oh boy! And look at those two kooks. All right, you know what? I got to show this. All right. Let me know if...
Yeah, down just a bit. Oh, not.
Should I get
good,
closer,
good.
right?
Yeah. Easy.
You see it?
Yeah.
You see it, people? You see the stump, the inner stump? You see the cross-like shape, which is very coincidental, which could appear anywhere in nature.
It's very funny, though, that the cross has nothing to do with Christianity, isn't it?
Yeah, well, are these people practicing relic worship?
Obviously.
Maybe a form. Maybe a form of idolatry.
Well, of course, it's a form of idolatry.
Why don't they
Not only a form of idolatry, as I said, it has nothing to do with Christianity.
Why don't they slice the stump in thick pieces and see how far they have to go before the cross disappears, and hang the stump above the altar in the church?
Come down a bit more.
How's that?
There you go.
Hang the stump above the altar in the church.
Or cut the stump into pieces and sell it.
Well, what they could do is they could take the first cutting and hang it in the church over the altar so people could touch it and make believe they're getting healed and blessed by touching the stump. And then they could auction off the other pieces that have the cross. All right?
Right.
Here. Unbelievable. What else? Man. Oh, by the way, I have an image on my imported blackthorn shillelagh from Ireland. Here, it's a shamrock. You see? It's a shamrock. All right. So I touch it, I rub it for good luck, and maybe the leprechauns will
come forth
and be
with the pot of gold
and be kind to me.
Me pot of gold.
Me gold, where's me lucky charms? Me gold. Oh, that's Popeye. Anyway,
continue. A little politics here.
Politics.
The imminent failure of the Congressional Deficit Supercommittee, which had a chance to settle the nation's tax policy for the next decade, would thrust the much contested Bush tax cuts into the forefront of next year's presidential campaign.
Right.
The policy has repeatedly provoked fiery partisan debate since the brakes were enacted during President George W. Bush's first term. Now, with the cuts due to expire at the end of 2012 and their fate left unresolved by the Supercommittee, both parties are already positioning themselves to exploit the issue for maximum electoral advantage. President Obama, who campaigned on repealing the brakes for the wealthy while preserving those for the middle class, angered his base last year when he agreed to extend all the tax cuts beyond their original expiration at the end of 2010. This time, the president has vowed to veto any effort to extend the tax breaks for upper-income Americans. See all the jobs that were produced, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
What happened? Years of tax cuts.
What happened to job production from tax cuts on the rich that Republicans are always talking about? There hasn't been any.
Yep.
See, lies, but these suckers, these middle-class lemmings keep on voting lately for Republicans at every election and continue to blame Obama for everything. Just like they blame the coach of an NFL football team for the team not winning in the playoffs or winning the Super Bowl, or they blame the manager of a Major League Baseball team for not winning championship playoffs and everything, and they want to fire the manager. No, they have to. The manager, just look at Obama as a general manager or the CEO of the country. He is not a kingdom. You know, it is not a dictatorship or an imperialistic kingdom where Obama says it will be this way and therefore it will be. It'll happen. No, he's got to get approval. Congress, Senate, you know, of course he can veto, but you know, he's got to get approval, And who do we have sitting in the Congress now? But mostly right-wing Republicans. Now, and sell out conservative
and enough Republicans in the Senate to filibuster.
To filibuster, yeah, and
Correct.
and I cannot overemphasize the sentence: sell out, traitorous, blue dog, moderate to conservative, and corrupt Democrats. All right.
Democratic lawmakers had hoped that the potential loss of these breaks in a little more than a year would prompt Republicans to offer larger concessions on the supercommittee. But a deal has remained elusive. The deadlock on the committee offers the latest reminder that the country's political class seems unable to address fundamental national problems unless faced with an imminent crisis. In this case, the Bush tax cuts, and with them, the fate of the nation's precarious finances, will in all likelihood be punted beyond next November's election. That makes December 2012 the next critical deadline in the budget wars with Obama. Safely re-elected, or acting as a lame duck president, wielding a veto pen with the power to return tax rates to Clinton-era levels. Democrats say they see the issue as an easy way to portray Obama's opponent in the presidential election as a defender of tax cuts for the rich. Republicans vying to challenge Obama argue that tax cuts should be made permanent, not just for the wealthy, but for middle-income Americans as well. And GOP strategists say the White House's position makes the president vulnerable to charges that he would impose what many Republicans are already calling in American history if he's reelected. All he wants to do is put the tax cut, the tax increases back to the 39% under Clinton. The biggest in all time? Hey!
Big deal.
They ought to do a little history.
39%.
When the marginal rate was 91%.
That's when the country was prosperous, right?
Yeah.
The economy, the job market, everything was prosperous. There was plenty of jobs. It was like if you quit one job, you can walk down the street and easily get another one. So you didn't have to take any abuse. And by the way, there's a new type of bullying, harassment that I think they've established. I don't know if it's law, but I've been hearing a lot about it, and it has to do with the recent bullying in the workplace by employers.
Whoa.
And they were interviewing many people. Like, let's say you have an office. You're lucky enough to still have your office job in these times, and your supervisor, or maybe the president or somebody in charge, they're all bullying everybody under them, the subordinates, threatening them. You better kiss my ass and wipe my ass and suck my dick and do whatever I tell you, or else. There's always the or else. What are your choices? There's no jobs out there. You need me. Now you see how human beings are. That's why they get away with that. You need me because there's no job market and the economy is the worst it's ever been, probably. You need me. I give you life. I put money in your pocket. I put food in your mouth. If you have children, I keep your
that's absolutely wrong in a free society.
Children alive. Oh, huh? What was that?
And that's absolutely wrong in a free society.
And speaking of absolutely wrong in a free society, what's with cops confiscating personal belongings, stealing personal belongings of protesters, Occupy Wall Street protesters? What's with that?
They can do it.
They can do it because
our police have been militarized. We live in a police state at the moment.
True.
The Patriot Act.
Fascism?
Fascism, but it's worse than that. Fascism is not just the Gestapo. The Gestapo is the police state.
Well,
we have as police state.
Yeah, well, in New York City, Mayor Bumberg is an elitist. He's a billionaire. When he became mayor, he's a billionaire. Just like the old Goldman Sachs boy, former New Jersey Governor John Corzine, a billionaire. You know, so how could these people feel anybody's pain? So the little Napoleonic complex Bumberg probably gave the order to harass, harass even peaceful protesters. But what rights?
The corporation wanted them out of their park. Simple, pure and simple. But they didn't want to cause a PR problem.
Yeah. Well, the corrupt Wall Street gurus that created this mess, of course, in reality, deserve a lot worse.
Anybody go to jail yet?
Than a bunch of protesters holding up signs. Believe me, they deserve like what they did to Benito Mussolini back in the day. That's what they deserve. That's my opinion.
We'll run against their tax increase, said the GOP anti-tax activist Grover Norquist, and we'll crush them.
Mm-hmm.
The competing views on the Bush cuts helped stymie the Super Committee, which had been tasked with trimming at least $1.2 trillion from the deficit over the next 10 years, but reached an impasse in large part over the question of raising taxes. Republicans charged Sunday that Democratic unwillingness to compromise on cutting programs such as Social Security and Medicare prevented a deal. Isn't that funny? Those things prevented the deal, but raising taxes didn't.
Yeah.
How do they see just one side of the problem? The equation rather than their own.
Well, the right wing is always hypocritical. It's always
hypocritical, but Jeepers Creepers, you know, you can't blame the other side. You know, when you come to an agreement, it's a meeting of the minds. You give something to me, I give something to you.
Yeah.
But if you've already said, no, there'll be no taxes raised, it's off the table.
Yeah. Like a union employer arbitration meeting, contracts being, you know, decided on. It's supposed to be
collectively bargained. Yeah.
Collective bargaining is right. Not a biased, one-sided dictatorship.
Exactly. That's what it amounts to.
Yeah. All right. Well, finish this article before we have to take a break.
But the Super Committee's Democratic co-chair, Senator Patty Murray, Democrat Washington, said on CNN's State of the Union that the Bush tax cuts were the sticking problem.
Oh, Bush is, I'm telling you.
Referring to those cuts, she said, the wealthiest of Americans, those who earn over $1 million every year, have to share. And that line in the sand, we haven't seen any Republicans willing to cross. White House Communications Director Dan Pfeiffer said the expiration of the tax cut should be a powerful incentive to the Republicans to abandon their politically foolish and substantially absurd position on taxes on the wealthy. Asked about the role of the Bush tax cuts in the committee's deliberations, Senator John Kyle, Republican, Arizona, said on NBC's Meet the Press that you can't grow if you raise taxes in the middle of a recession.
Grow? Who's going to grow? The fat cats?
Exactly. You see how they only say one side of the issue.
It's like, you know what it's like? It's like an infomercial.
Truth.
Listen, it's like watching an infomercial or a car dealer or furniture store commercial. Or infomercials in general. They give you truths mixed with exaggeration, mixed with lies.
Yeah.
All right, finish up.
The Bush tax cuts enacted in 2001 and 2003 to lower rates on most Americans have been the focal point of economic policy debates since. Supporters say that the reductions helped spur growth and that eliminating them in the wake of a recession would send the economy back into a downward spiral. Opponents say the cuts have been too costly adding trillions of dollars to the national debt and shifting the burden away from the wealthy. The key question as the debate moves into next year is whether Obama would be willing to veto the entire range of Bush cuts, including those for middle-income Americans, to raise taxes on the wealthy.
Okay, that's it for the article, right?
Yep.
Got to take a break. Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman will partake in his gastronomic delight known as lunch, followed by high green tea. Greetings. We're back. William J. Eisenman, PhD and Doctor of Divinity, is having his lunch, his gastronomic delight. It's time for promo. Okay, this gentleman next to me is a self-portrait of William J. Eisenman. William J. Eisenman is a fine watercolor artist, and this, of course, is a self-portrait of him that he did. You can see the William J. Eisenman collection of fine watercolor art by going to the William J. Eisenman Facebook profile or going to newslettercensored.com. Or you can go on YouTube. On the internet, there is a William J. Eisenman collection watercolor painting slideshow to Caribbean steel drum music. Okay, it is 99.9% up to date. Of course, he paints more paintings as time rolls on. All right, the bidding starts $500 each, but make them an offer. If you see something you like, send them an email and ask them, is this particular painting still available? Now, okay, this is the foundation of the whole organization. Newsletter Censored, founded in 1977 by William J. Eisenman, PhD. It contains the 5 taboos of American life: politics, religion, health, human sexuality, and child rearing. There's nothing like this anywhere in the mainstream media or the mainstream press. It's the kind of information that most people are afraid to hear. Can you handle it? So go to newslettercensored.com, read all of the hard-hitting information, and click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, get your free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored. And it's the very best way to be a part of this organization is to get your subscription to Newsletter Censored with your gift to support this work. And it contains a lot more information than the talk show and our website. It contains the political analysis at the beginning. This is the new issue, Censored number 117, The Devil's Economics, followed by If There's Room. Sometimes there's tidbits. And in this case, there's a special letter from a person with commentary from William J. Eisenman, and then there is The God Project by William J. Eisenman, Doctor of Divinity. And you can hear The God Project every Sunday starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from the Mega Life 21 Internet Talk radio station, coming from the pirateradionetwork.com. And then last but not least, we have Sexuality, A Holistic Approach by William J. Eisenman, PhD. All right? So there is a lot of very heavy-duty, hard-hitting information contained in the newsletter, so get your subscription now. So that does it for promo. Of course, you can, we have new playlists now on the internet. We have Censored on Demand, and we have the God Project on Demand, which are the past readings of both on demand on the internet. You can click on it as many times as you wish and listen to it over and over again and hear all of the past archive classics coming from Newsletter Censored and Mega Life 21. And these archive classics are read by, narrated by, and written by William J. Eisenman, Ph.D., Doctor of Divinity. Okay, an ordained minister. Even though he's a tad bit humble to mention all these accreditations or titles. Anyway, he's a man that wears many hats. He is still enjoying his lunch, I assume. You know, I want you to particularly, being that it happens to be the end of November 2011, I want you people out there to go on the internet and type in Mega Life 21, the Christmas Lie, and listen to it. It's very applicable to this time of year because many of you out there are suckered and brainwashed. Remember the beginning of the show? I was talking about the people after, you know, on Black Friday and this weekend, how they behave, how they're brainwashed. Well, this is sort of tied into that. It tells you what Christmas is and what Christmas is not. It's educational, it's enlightening if you wish to hear the real truth about Christmas and learn about the lies about Christmas. Propaganda, things that you were taught growing up that are not true. Make myself a little useful. And that's that. I just want everyone to know before Dr. Bill resumes with the article that there are individuals that either through ignorance or through demonic influence or through flat out stupidity, lack of brain cells, that will continuously try to sabotage the real hard-hitting truth and the enlightenment of humanity. And sometimes Satan can even infiltrate the Newsletter Censored Research Center. It can happen. It's very possible. He does it through churches, through pastors and ministers. He did it through the Catholic Church. So why not this establishment? But old James here, with shillelagh in hand, we're all sinners, we're all sinful. Okay, nobody's better than anybody else. But at least to be aware of things for what they are and acknowledge things helps a lot before getting on the straight and right, narrow, you know, straight and getting on the right path, you know. But look at Jimmy Swaggart. You know, anybody, it could happen to anybody, you know. Anyway, continue.
Looking to count the state's critical voting bloc of evangelical Christians, several of the Republican presidential contenders at an event Saturday in Iowa called for a larger role for religion in politics and warned that the country is becoming too secular. At a forum on moral values, there's an oxymoron. Moral values being discussed amongst Republicans. The 6 candidates in attendance denounced laws and Supreme Court decisions that restrict prayer in schools and prevent pastors from endorsing candidates from the pulpit. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich decried a shift towards secularism in America that he says is a disaster, while businessman Herman the Hurricane called for changing provisions in the tax code that limit churches' involvement in politics.
That's Herman the Hurricane Kane and the Gingrich.
The Gingrich.
The Gingrich that stole Christmas.
At the forum, which was held at First Federated and Evangelical Church in Des Moines, The candidates also emphasized their opposition to abortion and same-sex marriage. Gingrich called for changing federal law to define personhood as beginning at conception. A move, he said, would change abortion laws without the need to overturn Roe versus Wade. As long as abortion is legal in this country, we will never have rest, because that law does not comport with God's law, said former Senator Rick Santorum.
Oh, really? He knows God's law. Interesting. He knows the Bible.
Yes, he does.
Really?
Well, the Bible is silent on abortion, so obviously he doesn't know that much.
I'm glad you're reading this article, because I made a very keen observation watching a History Channel documentary a couple weeks ago, one of the recent ones. And I noticed a pattern with the History Channel, but continue.
Texas Governor Scary Perry, proposed a federal provision that would prevent gay couples from adopting children. The candidates also attacked the liberals and President Obama repeatedly.
Well, they sure are racist, the right wing.
They get away with it,
aren't they? Yeah.
Gingrich said his message to the Occupy protest movement is, go get a job after you take a bath.
Yeah, and they say, occupy an office, get a job. Oh, yeah, you know what? You people that said that, they guess what? They were in suit and ties, and they were lucky enough to still have their high-paying jobs. Lucky.
Well, Mr. Gingrich is also saying it.
Well, he's lucky enough to be Newt Gingrich and have lots of money.
Yeah, ill-gotten gains.
Ill-gotten gains. Ah, the people that know the Bible. He who makes haste to be rich shall not be innocent.
Well, he's not innocent.
Was that Proverbs?
He's not innocent.
I think so.
Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney,
Another goofball,
the field's front-runner, opted against attending the forum. Instead, campaigning in New Hampshire, the event served as a critical test for candidates trying to woo conservative voters who did not back Romney in 2008 and remain unenthusiastic about him. More than half of the voters in the 2008 GOP caucuses here identified themselves as born again. And former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee won Iowa 3 years ago, largely because of his strong support among those voters. Born-again Christian Republican voters here have long been cool to Romney because of his previous support of abortion rights and concerns about his Mormonism. The forum was organized by the Family Leader, a social conservative group in Iowa, and moderated by longtime political strategist Frank Luntz, who was once a top advisor to congressional Republicans. It was one of the first events during this primary race to focus on cultural issues instead of the economic ones that have dominated this primary season. Trying to emphasize that this was a family-oriented event, organizers sat the candidates beside one another at a dinner table adorned with pumpkins. The event was part of a major day of campaigning in Iowa. The candidates also spoke at a birthday party held by Iowa Governor Terry Branstad, Republican, while Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, Obama's former chief of staff, in effect delivered a rebuttal to the Republicans while defending Obama's record in a speech at a Democratic Party dinner in Des Moines. Another GOP contender, former Utah Governor John Huntsman, who has largely been written off, was not invited by the organizers.
Now, hey, it sounds like the Republicans. They're in a debate trying to drown people out. Those dogs, you hear it? Sounds like the Republican Party. Now, I just want to say that David Letterman made a very clever joke about Chris Christie. He says, if New Jersey should get hit, hear them? The Republicans are they're rebuttaling.
They're yapping.
If New Jersey gets hit with another a low category hurricane and we lose power, they can always, everybody in New Jersey can always hook up to Governor Chris Christie's refrigerator generator. I thought that was cute. Now, you said the word born again Christians concerning Republicans. Are these the people that like to go around and proselytize and witness and bother and bug people?
They're trying to save a non-existent immortal soul.
Yeah,
they believe that you have.
They believe in the rapture, that the immortal soul flies out of their body. One person insisted that in Paul's writings it says
absence from the body
is one with the Lord. Absence
is one with the Lord, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. And you know, these are the people that believe in telling you how to live your life and judging you, even though they're sinful human beings themselves.
And no one is under judgment now except the elect.
The elect.
That's correct.
To rule and
no one.
To rule and teach in New Jerusalem during what period?
The millennium.
The millennium. Now, these people seem to have a one-on-one bat phone to God.
Speaking of that,
and
Mr. Joel Osteen and his wife will be on Piers Morgan tonight.
I was watching him the other day, and I had to change the channel because he was sickening me. His saccharine sweet Cheshire cat smile never goes away. Joel Osteen. He talks and the smile never disappears. He's instead of talking scripture, he's talking about prosperity and abundance and wealth and how God wants you to be rich and blah, blah, blah. I didn't hear any quotes from the Bible from Joel Osteen. The funniest evangelist is Peter Popoff and his wife. Oh my gosh. Oh no, that is not the funniest. There's a lot of funny ones. A lot of them. And they're charlatans too. But I want to say something about, yeah, of course Republicans love the pushy, you know, born-again, evangelical type Christians because they like to dictate to you how to live. They want to shove their views, even though they're not in the Bible, they want to shove their views down your throat. And they want to judge you. If you're someone of color, they want to ship you out of the country. If you're gay, they want to probably exterminate you or something. Take away your rights. Homophobic. Now, the History Channel, I notice is a pattern. Every time they have a documentary, Dr. Bill, about religion, they always, when it comes to Christianity, they always seem to get the opinions that tend to be to the far right, from right-wing fundamentalist theologians, like somebody from the Catholic Church who gives the Catholicism view on things, or recently they get the opinion from a man who says that life, human life with a soul, begins at conception. Now, I noticed the History Channel likes to pinpoint and get the opinions of people like this when it comes to religion, Christianity, and theology. Now, do you think there's a connection between the History Channel having big sponsors paying the bills, corporations, and getting the right-wing fundamentalist conservative view on religion all the time?
Well, of course, it's easier to get that kind of stuff on the air.
Yeah.
If you put truthful stuff, what if I put the God Project on the air? Do you think it's going to go on the air? You think it's going to go on PBS? You think it's going to go on mainstream?
It's hard enough.
Going anyway.
It's hard enough to get your God Project published and put in Amazon and Barnes and Noble and everything. I mean, so in other words, what you're saying is, every time one of these documentaries goes on the History Channel, when it comes to religion and Christianity, you're always going to get the right-wing fundamentalist views because of the fat cats that pay their salaries.
And it's always going to be propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Without any facts, without any basis in the Bible, if you're talking Christianity.
Now,
because none of these churches that call themselves whatever they are, born again and everything, all this crap today, have no legitimacy whatsoever with the original Church of Christ. None whatsoever.
And when these people scream and yap like you heard the dogs yapping before, when they spout at the mouth about life with a soul begins at conception with the fertilized egg, what do you have to say about that?
I don't have to say anything about it. God said it. Go to Genesis and find out what the Hebrew word nephesh means. And that's the breath of life that was breathed into Adam by God. And guess what?
What?
The same nephesh is in the animals. So if you have an immortal soul, so do the animals.
Including the frogs.
And that makes God a charlatan, because the gift of God is eternal life. So if you already got an immortal soul, who cares about a gift of eternal life?
And if you have
a resurrection.
And if you have an immortal soul, why?
I said resurrection, not erection.
If you have an immortal soul, why would you need a resurrection?
That's correct.
So what you're saying is, if people chose logically, which they don't have, the right wing, if people chose to believe the right wing fundamentalists, born agains, they then ipso facto ergo, frogs, salamanders, land snails, ants, praying mantises,
cockroaches,
chameleons, crocodiles, they would all have a soul, a type of soul.
An immortal soul.
Nephesh, an immortal soul.
They have nephesh right now.
Dogs, cats.
Okay, nephesh has nothing to do with an immortal soul.
So nephesh, the definition of nephesh,
the Hebrew word that was translated into the English as breath of life, was nephesh.
Nephesh. No, there was no speak of the immortal soul that flies out of the human body and goes into either a waiting room, like Ken Creator says, a purgatory, like a waiting room called paradise. And in other words, what you're trying to say is it's all vanity when it comes to these right-wing fundamentalists, born again, holy roller,
obviously,
zealots.
You know, what else are they doing if they're out to save your soul? Why don't they let you save your soul? They're interested in saving your soul because they're doing something for themselves, which is vanity.
Oh, okay. There you go, right from the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman. Now, the next we maybe have time for one more good article. Maybe, possibly.
Well, we'll do this one here. Every child should be tested for high cholesterol as early as age 9.
Wow.
Surprising new advice from a government panel that suggests screening kids in grade school for a problem more common in middle age.
Look at the obesity epidemic in America. Children, obese children.
Well, I can tell you now.
Doesn't surprise me.
I can tell you now that the object of the screening is to get them on a drug as fast as possible.
Oh, you a smart guy. The pharmaceutical industry working with the government, right? The FDA and wow, oh wow, they have a drug for attention deficit disorder, don't they? They have a drug. They have these syndromes they come up with, these classifications for every problem. So they want to get children on a new drug for their cholesterol. How about that? I never thought of it. I thought they actually were trying to help obesity in America.
Help? Speaking of help, the Lipitor patent has or is running out. And Lipitor, the maker of Lipitor, is now going to undercut the generic version, and they're going to sell their Lipitor, the brand, and require doctors to give the brand rather than the generic. Oh, how powerful they are, aren't they?
That's a statin drug, right?
Yeah.
Lipitor. And the same ingredients are found naturally in the Chinese red yeast rice, or red rice yeast product that can be acquired in health food stores, both, retail and online. You could, and it does an excellent job. That's if you change your diet first, because low density lipoprotein, the bad cholesterol, and triglycerides are both from too much sugar in a high carb diet. Insulin resistance,
High glycemic carbs.
high glycemic. If you got to get rid of your high glycemic index foods, you have to make a log and seriously analyze your diet and get that straight before you start taking any supplements or any drugs. But of course, the drug companies, in bed with the FDA and the American Dietetic Association, who, they're no angels, they're all the same, AMA, they want you to get on the drug right away. So it's a racket. It's a revolving door. It goes around and around. The American food industry sells poison. You buy the poison in the supermarket, you eat it, you get sick, you go to the doctor, they put you on a drug. You get side effects, negative side effects from the drug. You go back to the doctor, he gives you more drugs to take care of the side effects. Then you get side effects from that drug, then he gives you more drugs. And it goes on and on. It's like a glorified drug dealer. Right?
That's what they are.
Anyway, continue.
The idea will come as a shock to most parents, and it's certain to stir debate. The doctors on the expert panel that announced the new guidelines Friday concede there is little proof that testing now will prevent heart attacks decades later. But many doctors say waiting might be too late for children who have hidden risks. Fat deposits form in the heart arteries in childhood, but they don't usually harden them and cause symptoms until later in life. The panel urges cholesterol screening between ages 9 and 11, before puberty, when cholesterol temporarily dips, and again between ages 17 and 21. The panel also suggests diabetes screening every 2 years, starting as early as 9, for children who are overweight and have other risks for type 2 diabetes. The new guidelines are from an expert panel appointed by the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, endorsed by the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Mm-hmm.
All credentialed groups. Oh,
credentialed.
They must know what they're talking about, don't they? They have that credential.
But they're not credentialed in naturopathy, homeopathy, alternative medicine, clinical medical nutrition. They're not credentialed in the natural way. They're credentialed in the pharmaceutical drug pushing way. So credentials. You have to have expertise. Now it's possible. I guess it's possible to have expertise and not be able to afford to go to a good, accredited, respectful university or school to get the degree. I guess it is possible to be that knowledgeable. Didn't Gary Knoll, when did Gary Knoll get his first PhD?
A few years ago, only.
Later in life?
Yeah,
So Gary Knoll was a brainiac guru for most of his life, and he did not have a PhD.
Correct.
And he was on the radio, and he had he sold nutritional supplements, and he's an activist.
Did scientific work,
Right.
studies.
But that must have been a hard, long, tough road for him to get to that position in his life without the credential, without the.
Yes, it was hard then, and even harder now with the credentials.
Well, because the the powers that be, the greedy plutocracy, which is the fat cats of capitalism, you could have degrees, enough degrees to match your toilet paper supply.
It's the same as
they won't let you.
Religious ideologues. It's the same. You can have all the facts, science, credentials behind what you say, and their ideology trumps it all.
Because they have the blowhorn.
They have the blowhorn, and they have
the media.
No open mind.
Well, they won't let the masses hear the real truth from the other guy.
Until now, cholesterol testing has only been done for kids with a known family history of early heart disease or inherited high cholesterol, or with risk factors such as obesity, diabetes, or high blood pressure. That approach misses about 30% of kids with high cholesterol. If we screen at age 20, it may be already too late, said one of the guideline panel members, Dr. Elaine Urbina. Elizabeth Durers of Cincinnati didn't want to take that chance that her 10-year-old daughter has been on cholesterol-lowering medicines since she was 5.
Oh, gee.
Because high cholesterol runs in her family.
Was she a candidate for this drug at 5?
No, obviously, because this study just came out.
Well, hyperactivity and possible high cholesterol in children is probably from the candy they eat. Kids eat a lot of candy.
Sure do.
But they don't take kids off sugar right away. Doctor says, they need the drug.
Yeah. Dr. Blumenthal, who is preventive cardiology chief at Johns Hopkins Medical Center, had no role in the guidelines, said he thinks his 12-year-old son should be tested because he has a cousin with very high bad cholesterol.
And this is a guy that works in a very prestigious medical university, right?
Medical center, yes. Johns Hopkins.
It's in Maryland, right? Johns Hopkins University, and he's head cardiologist.
Chief.
And he's thinking drug.
Cardiology chief, yes.
And he's thinking drug the kid.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect example about credentials coming from the wrong side, the enemy.
I'm very supportive of universal screening, he said. The knowledge of their cholesterol numbers as well as their blood sugar levels can be very helpful for the physicians and the families about which patients are headed toward diabetes. Dr. William Cooper, a pediatrics and preventative medicine professor at Vanderbilt University, said expanding the testing guidelines would seem to me to make sense. But he added, one of the risks would be that we would be treating more kids, potentially, and we don't know yet the implications of what we're treating.
Mm-hmm.
Are we treating a number, or are we treating a risk factor?
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason a different group of government advisors, the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force, concluded in 2007 that not enough is known about the possible benefits and risks to recommend for or against cholesterol screening for children and teens. One of its leaders, Dr. Michael Lefevre, specialist at University of Missouri, said that for the task force to declare screening beneficial, there must be evidence that treatment improves health, such as preventing heart attacks, rather than just nudging down a number, the cholesterol score. Some of the argument is that we need to treat children when they're 14 or 15 to keep them from having a heart attack when they're 50. And that's a pretty long lag time. The guidelines say that cholesterol drugs likely would be recommended for less than 1% of kids tested. And they shouldn't be used in children younger than 10 years old. We'll also continue to encourage parents and children to make positive lifestyle changes, to prevent risk factors from occurring. Steps such as diet, exercise. The group praised the guidelines and will host a presentation on them Sunday at its annual conference in Florida.
Okay. Well, it's a racket. It's a racket. Just like the pagan Christmas with the retail industry, you know, the brainwashing. It's just another part of corporatist capitalism at its best, or at its worst, should I say, backed by the right-wing Republicans. You know, it's a racket, taking things you don't need, that you shouldn't be putting in your body, which are drugs.
And it's siphoning the money upward.
Yeah, no
To
trickle.
the big boys, to those who already have.
No trickle down, siphoning upward of the money, siphon up economics, the devil's economics, and whether it be the poison, toxic American food industry, whether it be the drug companies, whether it be the retail industry, their objective
You realize
is
that
to have you part not only with all your money into their pockets, but to even go in debt to part extra money into put extra money in the fat cat's pockets.
Right.
And they don't care if you're in debt, and then
Forever.
but they care if America doesn't have the money to buy their products anymore because they screwed up the whole country.
No, they don't care about that. They haven't looked at that part of it.
Is that
Because they're only interested in the taking of the money,
okay? Now,
not the longevity of the company.
not looking long term.
That's correct.
Now, as soon as you made that statement, a light bulb appeared over my head. Isn't this similar to what you told me about how Satan and his fallen angels were not fully developed mentally? And being that the right-wing conservative Republicans are really supporting the devil's economics and the devil's work because of their lack of compassion completely for the poor, there is a similarity between the ways of Satan and the ways of the right wing in this respect. Okay, they don't look long term. They look only quarterly. Profit, the bottom line. They don't look long term. They don't care about long term effects. So this is kind of like
This is that quote you said before. He who makes haste
to be rich.
to be rich shall not be innocent.
Right. And they can't see the real truth, or
They are
maybe
deceived. Revelation 12:9. The whole world is deceived.
so they're deceived, and they don't want to see the real truth, or they're incapable of seeing the real truth, or is it a little of both?
They are blinded.
They're blinded, like trying to drive in a fog. Blinded.
In some cases, they are deliberately blinded by God Himself, because He doesn't want them to know the truth or understand the truth.
But doesn't He want? Doesn't He
No,
want to maximize?
no.
So what you're getting to is
And what I'm getting to
God
is
does not want to maximize the number of human beings that will be saved. Is that what you're
that's
saying?
correct. At this time.
At this time, which goes very contrary
Does it?
to what right-wing fundamentalists, born-again, holy roller, evangelical, hallelujah, speaking in tongues, sounds like a turkey, doesn't it? Anyway, what they believe is very different
Yep.
from the
But
true,
it's only a belief.
but the true flock. So it is not your time yet, right-wing fundamentalists. It is only time for the elect. Now these people, like your Joel Osteens and all these right-wing evangelicals out there, and the other guy, who's this popular, quarterback, Tim Tebow of the Denver Broncos, like Ken Create tells me, James, could you look up to see if Tim Tebow has any contact information, because Tim Tebow is a big-time Christian.
Ooh.
That's what he says. He's a bit. Now, what makes him a big-time Christian, Kenny? Oh, he's always praying on the field. Praying for what? What is he praying for on the field?
God loves football.
Wait a minute. Is he trying to say that? Is he trying to get a blessing from God to win
the ball game,
the football game? That God would stoop so low?
Maybe God's a gambler. You know, he's got it on. He's got the.
Yeah, but why would
on that team?
That's an insult to God. Why would God care if Tim Tebow and the Denver Broncos won their game?
Well, maybe he's got the what do you call it when you make
Sports betting?
No, yeah, but sports betting. But the what do you call that when you get the spread? The spread.
Oh, the point spread?
The point spread,
well,
yeah.
That's part of sports betting.
Yeah. So God maybe have the spread, you know?
That's like Joel Osteen saying, I prayed and God gave me the perfect parking space in the parking lot. Why would God care if you have a good parking space? Why would... well, Ken told me, well, maybe there was an underlying purpose for Joel Osteen to get that parking space. No, there's not.
Yeah, he went in to buy the 360 Xbox. Man, come on.
But getting back to Tim Tebow, everybody, all the right-wing born-againers love Tim Tebow. Oh, he's devout. You know what Harvey Levin said on TMZ? Harvey Levin is a lawyer. He says that Tim Tebow wears his religion, his Christianity on his sleeve. Yeah. Does that mean that he rubs your nose in it every chance he gets?
Well, that's what we were talking about before.
Is that being ostentatious?
When I was trying to explain humility. God has never come to the proud, to the prideful. He has only come to the humble. The meek shall inherit the earth. Not the rich man, not the proud man. You know,
interesting. So Tim Tebow might have a little vanity in him. The big-time Christian Tim Tebow. I notice he shows off a lot on his website. They got little pictures of him trying to be cute and smile, and he's like, you know, holy. You know, I hate people who want to rub your nose in their opinions and beliefs, like the right-wing fundamentalists do. You know, they want to. It's almost like they're boasting about how close they are to God. Like, well, what's with this personal relationship
with Jesus?
With Jesus,
correct. Yeah.
They think God is actually hears your conversation and your petitioning for little stupid things, like my kid needs a new uniform, or I need to win this football game, or you know, and they could just talk. Yeah. And the big man upstairs cares about little trivial things.
Well, supposedly they believe that he hears their prayers, but he does not. Because as I said, right now he's going through a period of the elect only. Period. No one else. And he's making the choices who can come to him. Not you. Read John. None can come to him unless they are called. It's all a game they're playing. It's all, a vain game. They believe these things which are not true. And let's put it this way. If there is a God, and if he is the God of the Bible, the Creator, and you actually believed that, then the way you're going about it is not going to help you. These people.
So going out and handing
traditional Christianity.
So going out there and handing out tracts and bugging people is not. They claim it's probably in the Bible, these people, but it's really not.
No, it's not to evangelize like that. It is to, let's say this. Supposing you were really a prophet or whatever of the actual Church of God,
right,
here on earth, you could put out a newsletter for free,
right,
You could put on a radio program, a television program, but you will not knock on people's doors and go into their houses without being invited first. Not when you knock on the door and say, "Come on in." No.
You mean like Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses do? And in other words, proselytizing.
They come to you uninvited.
You know, these right-wing fundamentalists seem to be very, Dr. Bill, and I repeat, very preoccupied with Paul's writings in the Bible. It's like a focal point with them.
They're also preoccupied with just the New Testament.
Yeah.
They have no idea how the Old and the New Testament coalesce.
It's all important.
Go together.
It's all important.
The red thread story that runs through them. I asked someone last night.
Well, they say rightly divide. You say red thread.
What the hell does rightly divide have to do with the red thread? Red thread is a thread. That one thing leads to another, and one thing leads to another, one thing leads to another. That's the red thread.
Like we do our show.
You know?
Unrehearsed, ad lib. Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
I asked a woman last night who was raised in a fundamentalist environment.
Poor thing.
Yes, poor thing. And I asked her not to get into a discussion about religion or something, because you don't go there with people unless they ask you.
Good idea.
But anyway, we came to this, and I asked her, I said, well, during your studies or whatever, did you ever find out how many gods are actually mentioned in the Bible? She said, one, of course. And then I pointed her to John 1, verse 1. And then I pointed her to Genesis 1, where the gods say, "Let us make man in our image."
Let us.
And then I pointed her to the Tower of Babel,
Yeah.
with Nimrod, where the gods again say, "Let us go down and confound their language."
Us. Go down. Us. U.S. Little
Dual.
word. Little
Dual.
word. Dual. Little word.
Due.
U.S. Us.
Due.
Yeah.
Due. So all of your traditional Christians are going to say that there's one God.
No, well, some of them say there are more than one, but then again they are one.
That's including a Trinity, which there is no such thing.
Yeah. So the
Holy Spirit is not a person. It is a force, an energy.
The energy.
Which God gets things done through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Energy, like without dilithium crystals, the Starship Enterprise
no go.
Is no go.
Yeah.
Warp speed will not be attained. So the Holy Spirit is the energy from God. Okay, and then, but as far as the Son, the Spirit, the Logos, the Word, how do they say that?
Melchizedek, Yahweh,
Melchizedek,
I am.
Yahweh,
These are all one person.
Yahweh, I am. What about Elohim?
Elohim.
This is
Elohim is the both of them together.
Okay, but the other ones, what about Jehovah?
Well, that is a in Hebrew, the vowels are not written. So, the God of the Bible, Yahweh, is YHWH. There's no E's, there's no A's, or whatever. So that's how Jehovah came about.
Okay.
Because it was written in the Bible once, and, they put in those vowels.
Now, the Spirit that became Jesus was the same force that was the Creator, right? Heavens
Jesus
and earth.
was the Creator, the Word of John 1:1. All things were created through Him.
Okay.
The Father has never been seen by anyone
at
any time.
And the floods during Noah and the Sodom and Gomorrah, that was done by who?
Jesus.
By Jesus. Okay. So Jesus is not this spaced out vegetarian, vegan hippie that Hollywood portrayed him to be, all spaced out and weak and feeble. No, he got pissed off that one time. you know, at the usurers, right? The Pharisees, whatever.
The money changers in the temple.
Money changers.
The commercialism.
Very similar to the people that run hardcore porn. The way they're so happy and they're giggling behind the customer's back that they screwed people out of what their product is really worth. Their antiques, their valuables, and you know how they stiff them. They're like, you know, ha 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 ha. They're all laughing in the background. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what the Enron people did when they boosted the price of electricity in California, where the poor old grandmas, ladies couldn't pay for it, and they laughed their asses off.
Hey, who was that? Yeah, they laughed their asses off.
All that extra money that they made for
Who was that? And was there some Enron slut that did Penthouse or Playboy or Hustler or something? She did a naked spread. Somebody associated with Enron. Or maybe I got it confused with another scandal.
Could be.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining us for Progressive Discussions.
Which you did not give a number to?
I think it's 95.
94 or 95?
No, 94 we did last week.
Then it's 95.
I think it's 95. Or is it 96? But it's definitely in the mid-90s, you know. Anyway, we'll catch you. Say so long.
Catch you on the flip side. Hasta la vista.
Yeah.